do, not think. I know this for sure. A lot of creators do this because they're great at creating and making content, right? Especially, I mean, you see enough TikToks, you can rock it, right? You start to really figure out, oh, this is what I really like to make. This fits me. This fits my personality. This fits my audience and what I want to say to them. But then how do you translate that into dollars? That's where I come in, because I help with the systems. And that came, I put a couple of notes for her that I'm going to share with y'all here really quickly. And if you know any content creators, if you have a community of content creators, if you know any aspiring entrepreneurs that maybe aren't so great at creating content, please feel free to share this live with them, because they will find tons of value. And if you're watching on the, typically I put them in the replay until I do the next one in the link in my bio. So if you are midday, you're working, you're doing whatever you're doing, please share it with someone who might want to catch some of these gems, and then let them know that they can also go to the link in my bio for the replay. But it's always better to get stuff like live when you can, because then you can ask the questions that you might have, right, that might be attached. So the 4 types, I put 4 different types of content that every creator needs. Anything else that you do can be whatever that's going to be, maybe for your personal brand. But when you're talking business, I have 4 that without fail, I'm always using. And now the funny thing about it is, really any piece of content can be used. Oh my goodness. What about the black, what were we talking about, the black dress? Y'all like to hear about that. Y'all like to talk about that black dress, don't you? That's for weekends, okay? The black dress is for weekends, okay? Okay. We're in business mode right now, okay? So I love it though. That's what's up. 4 types of content, and really anything that you create, and I will say anything, don't be too crazy, yes. But whatever you create can be used in these ways. This is the great thing about like platforms like TikTok, is it doesn't have to be what it used to be when it comes to marketing. You really can turn any piece of content into what you need to be able to sell, okay? Thank you. So I'm going to give you the 4 types of content you need real quick. We're going to run it down. This is not going to be a long day. We're talking a quick 15, y'all. So while I talk and share the gems, let's see how many likes we can get on here. And let's get it. So the first type of content out of 4 is content that entertains. Okay, so whether that be like lifestyle, something that shows like who you are, and this is for the purpose of connecting to the ideal customer. So when you think about the business, your business, maybe your personal brand is different than your business. And for me, listen, I go through TikTok all the time, and I will save videos, and then I upload them into my 2 platforms because they're going to go for separate brands. Things that are going to go for Posh Tori are going to be, that's my personal brand, right? That's going to be very different most of the time than when I post on the Posh Girls Club. And when I post on the Socialite Society is even different. The Socialite Society is a whole different, it's the teaching part of PGC. Posh Girls Club is like inspiration, motivation, and resources, right? So community is the Socialite. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saving different types of posts for different brands as like filler content. And then I know that's like entertaining stuff in between. And then I know I'm gonna make like my things that are, you know, I consider myself quite a know-it-all. Can be quite annoying for people, okay? Or they could be taking the gems because, you know, she was just born this way, I'm just saying. And when it comes to business though, and doing business online and doing business with social media though, there are just very few people who can say they've been doing it successfully as long as I have, using social media to do it, to growth hack, to work with celebrities, to work with icons, to work with TV shows and all of these things that I did as just a stay-at-home mommy. Okay, so that is really what your entertainment is for, is to connect to the right people depending on what your brand is. So if it's PGC, people are going to get stuff like that picks at like the typical workforce, the typical work world, because it's time to shake shit up in the work world. Like, really, people should have the choice, in my opinion, of working remotely. Thank you. That should be a choice. That should be a life choice of being, whether you want to work remotely or on site. It shouldn't be like a must, in my humble little opinion. I've worked in Silicon Valley. I've led teams across the world in Silicon Valley, in my own brands. My team, none of my team is local. None of them. Even my local team isn't local. So when I'm posting for PGC, a lot of times the content that we collect there, it'll be picking at work. It'll be like, oh my gosh, it's Monday morning, another, like, you know, the grind is here, versus, and then there's the content is like, hey, you can be your own boss. And yes, you might work more hours, but you're gonna love the work you do, and you're gonna be passionate about the work you do, and you're gonna decide your own, you see, so that's the type of entertainment content that's gonna go there. Entertainment for PGC, for Pashtori, it's gonna usually be picking at relationships, usually picking at myself, because God knows I have done the dumbest shit in relationships. And I call them that. I should call them situationships. Okay? Yeah. But I pick at myself. So I don't really care if people pick at me. I am okay with picking at myself. I'm a work in progress always, and I love me, right? And somebody else will one day too. I'm really fucking lovable. I'm just saying. I'm also high maintenance. I'm also a Libra. I'm also a fire dragon. I am batshit crazy. My brain. You love me. Thank you, Jimmy. Wifey. Yeah, it takes one hell of a man to be able to deal with all of this, but he will also have all the goodness, all the perks, all the beautiful things. I'm gonna take care of him, you know? Yes, for the fire. So the jokes and the funny stuff that you see on Posh Tori, and it's not all my stories, right? He said, I'm the man. He shows up every day. I'm just saying, that's loyalty and love right there. Put it in actions. Jimmy puts it in action, okay? Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. There's somebody else who dropped some fire. Lost 50. Damn, yes. Thank you for the fire, too. I appreciate y'all. Thanks, Jimmy. But that's the difference, right? That's how you know. So entertaining content is intended to connect to your audience. Let them know who you are. Let them see your vibe, and finding your people. Because community building is the key, y'all, to the future of business. You got to build communities around what you do. That's why I'm here. That's how I built PGC. 2 over a million is going live 5 days a week, sometimes 2-3 hours. Listen, the grind was worth it though, because I built that 1 million followers rather quickly. I think pretty quickly. The second one, so the first one type of content was entertain. The second one is to educate. Now, this is good because I can come on here and I could legit talk y'all ear off all day and all night about business, educating about business. I'm going to tell you that, I mean, legit, y'all know, like sometimes I get in a rant and I just like, oh, Tori, pull it back. Nobody knows what you're talking about. And whatever your niche is, that's how you dominate. You come on and you show what you know. You talk about what you know. You record it. Whatever method you feel most comfortable with, show up that way and educate, because that's your social proof, okay? And it connects your magic to your social proof. So my magic is, okay, bye, going back to it. I appreciate you for stopping in. My magic is connecting with people. That has been something that El Boogie says she saw in me as a little girl. Mommy was like, I said, how did you know to put me in public speaking? And, you know, since 4 or 5 years old. Thank you. And she said, well, good parents know they pay attention to their kids. And then I did the same thing with my sons. I recognized some things in them early, and before you know it, Chrissy is playing baseball, right? And then we played in college, and he injured himself. So it's knowing what your zone of genius is. That's why things like the Enneagram, I have, when my girls come in and they join, or my clients on board, one of the first things I want them to do is take the Enneagram, because I want them to know how they learn, who they are. And these are things, especially from certain communities, that nobody really talks about. I went to a Catholic private school, one of the best, and I never heard anybody talk about Enneagram. So imagine people who come from places where these are just not things. And I know in Silicon Valley, it's a really big one that people use to know how to fill their team, Enneagram tests, right? Imagine knowing how you learn and how you perform, and then being able to show up and bring that brilliance out of who you are. So the second one, thank you so much for the likes. I so appreciate you for liking, sharing, all of it. I do. Thank you. So engage. That's number 3. Sorry, I skipped. Engage. That's number 3. So we have entertain, educate, and engage. Engage. When people post, comment back. Seriously, this is the easiest one. When I go through even big creators, people get so surprised on the Posh Girls Club. They're like, holy shit, you just replied to me. I can't believe you just replied. And I'm like, well, I can't believe you share my shit every day. Seriously, thank you, girl. The least I can do is reply or like. I actually, and it's funny, several times a day, in fact, I was going to say every morning and night, several times a day, I personally, yes, Paul goes through my DMs to make sure I haven't missed things, but I personally go into the hearts on my own Instagram, and however many stories mention me, I go through and I send hearts and comments, and sometimes I send a voice note. And they're like, shit, you just sent me a voice note. Yes, well, these people, they show up in your brand. Show some love. God dang it. Find ways to show love. I recognize that it's, even for me, it's really difficult to respond to everything. But when you can, show love. Make that a part of your process. And that's what engage. Think of content that can create relationships between you and your audience. So what are the types of things you can talk to them about directly that make them feel like they are close to you? How can you show them that there's a human behind your brand? That is what connects people to you. I teach this in Own the Room. So if anybody wants to learn this, the power of influence, I teach it it's a pay what you want course too. I think it's in the link in my bio. If not here, it's in the one at the Posh Girls Club on Instagram. But Own the Room, and you literally can pay, I think $1 is the least you can pay to get in it, because I want everybody to get this, okay? Own the Room, great course. If you want to learn influence, different strategies that I use to connect to people, because, and it's funny, I took a tech boot camp a couple years ago for tech sales. I wanted to sharpen my sales skills. Listen, everything in the course, I knew, because I had been doing it my whole life. So by the time I came out, the 2 founders in that brand wanted me to come and help them build their brand. True story. And then I was the face of the brand for a year and a half. So influence is my thing. And it's funny because I'm always selling. Even though I'm smiling and joking and connecting, it is always selling. But you don't have to sound like a sleazy salesperson to sell, okay? You really don't. You just have to be strategic about how you show up. There's authenticity and there's strategy, and you have to combine them because people will know you're full of shit otherwise. So you got to show up in a way that's authentic and pop some strategy in there behind it, okay? And then the final one is entice. So content that entices. So like things like behind the scenes, I sold you. Loves it. I love it. I believe you. You are here all the time showing me love. It is like so dope. Yeah. My number one, I'm telling y'all don't understand. So behind the scenes, people want to see many things. They want to see what you're doing. They want to see, they don't apologize. I love it. They want to see social proof. Things like, I just put up a post today on the Posh Girls Club, and it's a carousel, and it has 10 posts. Well, 5 of them are screenshots of messages directly from my audience. They're screenshots, and they're not perfect shots either, because who cares? They're some of the most beautiful sentiments that you could possibly receive as a human, let alone as a creator and fierce leader of a global girl gang, okay? I mean, just some of the most beautiful messages of people's sentiment of having worked with me or been in my spaces or been a part of my community or co-working. I did use yours, that's right, because yours worked for Posh Tori. Actually, it's saved. It's pinned, in fact, to my highlights, to that whole thing. Yes, thank you for the roses. It is pinned. I pinned it to my highlight because it goes with the self-love part of the story. And that is what I'm trying to tell you. Thank you, Jimmy. That actually just connected to my point. My final point was I wrote this down for this client, and I'm going to read it to y'all. So things to consider when you're posting any of these strategies. One, what are you posting for? Do you have a specific product that you're thinking about selling? And if you do, your goal is to think, what do you want the customer to do when they come into your brand? I literally wrote this out for her. And this wasn't even included in her order, but this is how deep I get into y'all's brands. And my brain just goes crazy, and I have to come and do a live to like brain dump. So what do you want the customer to do when they come to the brand? You want them to focus on a single item, and then you want to upsell them. This is how it connects to what we talked about yesterday. Or downsell, right? After they buy. So you want to get them to that focus here. What's the whole point? And this is what you got to think of. So which one of these, and all of these different types of posts can be used to answer these questions. Because now, once you know what you're posting for, right? Once you know what you're posting for, then you can use any content to map that journey. You just have to be specific with the copy. So back to Jimmy. Jimmy had said in my stories, one of my reels, which I used for the Fuckboy Free collection, one of my reels was one that said, it was that one where it's like something about being high maintenance. You knew who the F I was when you met me, or something like that, right? Something about being high maintenance. When they point of view, they say you're high maintenance, whatever it says. And then Jimmy replied, things of value are high maintenance. Like, that's what he said. He was like, and they require specific care and attention. And, you know, like, that should inspire. That was like perfect to use for the self-love collection. So you see how anything, 2 random pieces of content could be used to drive sales for a single product, for the self-love shirts, because that's the product that I tagged in them. So that is my whole spiel for today. Okay, 4 types of content, but more importantly, the 4 types I'll give you really quickly were something to entertain, to educate, to entice, and to engage, and then to entice. Okay? Thank you. More importantly, what are you going to do? What is the journey that you're mapping? What's the intent behind the content? And when you know that, you can put together a story, and that's the next part that I'm about to put in her notes and I'm going to give her specific examples for her brand of how to do it. That's what's included in my brand audits. That's what they look like. It's about mapping the journey and not just, oh, post this on this day, post that on that day. No, why are you posting it? What's the end result that you want the customer to do? You want them to buy a specific thing. How do we get them there? So there's a story. I told a story with Fuckboy Free. I told the story. They weren't all my stories, but many of them were my stories, okay? And in those stories, I first connected with people. I first wanted to connect to the people who would need, want, and desire those shirts because they're going to connect to the message. And then I told them to take a pledge. And they click on the page, and there are all these different t-shirts, the Fuckboy Free t-shirts, that they can now take the pledge by buying the shirt. Take the pledge means buy the shirt, okay? That's what that means. Buy it for yourself, buy it for your daughter, buy it for your sister, buy it for your aunties, buy it for your mama, like buy it for everybody, every woman you know. Take the pledge for her. If it's men, right? If it's women, take the pledge. Men, buy it for your daughters. Blocked, deleted, self-love. And then here's where I really get crazy. And maybe I'll talk about this tomorrow because I'm on a roll this week, right? And I have some big projects that I'm about to be working on. I'm about to be working with a really massive brand. So I'm trying to get all my content like for the next 2 months created so that Paul can get it scheduled, okay? Scaling. But now I can think about the next part, which it doesn't stop with Fuckboy Free, because that's the negative side, right? That's the, like I felt really low posting all those videos day after day after day, having them scheduled. And even, I don't even look at them in my stories because it's like, it's heavy. But then, yes, let's go. But then it moves into the beautiful part. So for February, it turned into self-love. So we love Fuckboy Free in January. And now we're starting to go into the self-love part of it. And there's another part that's coming for March, which I'm not going to say because like I said, I be saying stuff and then 5 minutes later, my competitors, they got spies everywhere because they just be like oozing out of my mouth into their brands. So I'm not going to say what the third part is, but it's coming for March. And I can scale this while I'm still selling F-Boy products, keep in mind, because they're scheduled for 6 months into the year. Those posts are scheduled for the whole story. The whole series is going to repeat over and over and over because I didn't say February or Valentine's Day. None of it's that. It's stages of a relationship. So now, y'all, this stuff is so deep for me. It's not just getting on social media and popping something up. I'm thinking about the psyche and the soul of the person. Every single person that comes through that F-Boy Free entry point, they're going to go through a freaking transformation. I'm going to transform women this year. I'm telling you, more accountability for themselves so we can stop blaming other people for hurting us because we are oftentimes putting ourselves into these jacked up scenarios and situations and we can do better. And that's what I want us to do, is better for ourselves because we deserve it. And then we'll choose better people. So that is the message. It's not just F-Boy Free shirts. It started with that. But that's not it. So what's your message? That's what I said. What is it that you're really wanting to sell? Who do you want to sell it to? What's your point? What's the goal? What's the end result? What are you creating? Okay, drops mic. She's done. That's where I'm at. When I think about content, when I think about brand building, that's how you build a 1 million+ follower brand. It's because it's that deep. Every post, every single thing that we're doing this year is so intentional, y'all. It's so intentional. And yeah. All right. right, y'all, I'm gonna wrap it there. It is always my goal to give you the most value because I want to see you win, thrive, and slay in your zone of genius. Yes, thank you, babes. Thank you. Listen, if you need a brand audit, check the link in my bio. I'm doing them for hella cheap. Hella cheap. Thank you. $79, y'all. Each one takes me about an hour, and I don't typically work for $79 an hour. Okay, so let's get it. Let's get your brands popping this year. And as always, thank you for coming in and for showing me love. The best, absolutely. Thank y'all. See y'all later.